I walked into prison at 25 thinking my life was over. But the truth is, some of the most meaningful parts of my life didn't begin until after the doors closed. If you've ever felt trapped by your past, your mistakes, or your circumstances, what I learned in 50 years behind bars might change how you see your own life. My name is Thomas, and I have been in prison for 50 years, half a century. Sometimes I say that number out loud just to remind myself it's real. 50 years ago, I walked through these gates as a young man with strong shoulders, fast thoughts, and a life that still felt unfinished. I had plans back then, big ones. I was the kind of man who believed time belonged to him. Before prison, my life was loud. I grew up in a small neighborhood where everybody knew your name, where summer evenings smelled like barbecue smoke and cut grass, and where my mother would stand on the porch calling us inside before the streetlights came on. My father worked long hours, but when he was home, he was present. He taught me how to fix things with my hands: engines, broken doors, leaky pipes. He used to say, "A man who can repair things will never be useless." I believed him. In my 20s, I had what most people would call a good life. I had a steady job, a car I was proud of, friends who laughed loudly and drank too much on weekends, and a woman who loved me. Her name was Elena. She had this way of tilting her head when she listened, like every word mattered. We used to sit on the hood of my car at night, watching the sky, talking about the future like it was a promise already made. We were going to get married. We talked about a little house with a blue door, kids running through the yard, Sunday dinners with family. Ordinary dreams, beautiful dreams. And I had habits, small luxuries I didn't even recognize as luxuries at the time. Morning coffee from the corner diner where the waitress knew my order without asking. The smell of fresh laundry. Music playing while I drove with the windows down. Falling asleep next to someone warm, someone breathing softly beside me. Freedom felt normal. That's the thing nobody tells you. You don't realize something is precious until it's gone. The day everything changed didn't feel dramatic at first. It felt like one bad decision layered on top of another. Anger, pride, fear. A moment that lasted minutes but echoed for decades. I won't go into details here because what matters isn't the crime. What matters is what came after. The courtroom, the sentence, the sound of a metal door closing behind me for the first time. There's a moment when you enter prison, where your body understands before your mind does. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops. The air feels different, heavier somehow. And you realize, this isn't temporary. This is your life now. I thought my story was over. I thought I had lost everything that made life worth living. Love, family, comfort, choice, dignity. For years, I carried that belief like a weight chained to my ribs. I replayed memories over and over. Elena's laugh, my mother's cooking, my father's voice, holidays, birthdays, sunlight on my face during a lazy afternoon. Things so ordinary they used to feel invisible. Inside prison, memories become your private cinema. And at night, they hurt. I imagined the life I would have had, the children who never existed, the house we never bought, the old man I might have become if I had stayed free. That imagined version of me haunted me more than the bars ever did. I thought something inside me had died, but I was wrong. It wasn't dead. It was waiting. The first decade was the hardest. Prison strips you down slowly, not just physically, emotionally, psychologically. Your identity dissolves piece by piece. Out there, you're someone's son, someone's partner, someone with a job, a role, a purpose. In here, you're a number, a schedule, a routine. Wake up, count, eat, work, count again, lock in. Days blur together until time feels like water slipping through your hands. I watched men break, strong men, proud men. Some turned angry, some numb, some desperate. I almost became one of them. Anger feels powerful when you have no control. Bitterness feels justified when you've lost everything. But anger is heavy. Carry it long enough and it crushes you. The turning point came in my 30s. An older inmate named Walter used to sit in the yard reading books. He had been inside longer than I had. One day he told me something simple. He said, "Kid, if you don't build a life in here, you'll die before your body does." That sentence stayed with me. So I started building something. Small habits first. Reading every day, exercising, writing letters, even when nobody replied. Learning to sit quietly with my thoughts instead of running from them. Over time, I discovered something strange. Peace doesn't require freedom. It requires acceptance. The moment I stopped fighting reality, I started living again. Even inside prison walls, I made friends. Real ones. Men who shared their stories, their regrets, their hopes. We talked about families we missed, mistakes we wished we could undo, futures we might never see. There's a kind of honesty in prison conversations you rarely find outside. Nobody pretends perfection when everyone knows your worst moment. Years passed. My parents died. I wasn't there. That pain never fully leaves you. Elena eventually stopped writing. I don't blame her. Life moves forward for people on the outside. Love changes shape when distance becomes permanent. For a long time, that loss felt unbearable. But something unexpected happened. I started changing. I learned patience, because time was unavoidable. I learned empathy, because everyone here carried wounds. I learned humility, because pride had cost me everything once already. And slowly, I learned to forgive myself. That was the hardest lesson. We think punishment comes from walls and sentences, but the harshest prison is guilt. The voice that says you destroyed your own life, that you don't deserve peace. Letting go of that voice took decades, but when it finally softened, I felt lighter than I had in years. I am an old man now. My hair is gray, my hands are slower. My body carries the history of years lived in confined spaces. But my mind is clearer than it ever was when I was young. And here's the truth nobody expects to hear from someone like me. My life did not end when I came to prison. It changed. And different does not always mean worse. Some mornings I wake up before the noise starts. There's a quiet moment when sunlight slips through the window bars and lands on the floor. I sit there with my coffee. Not fancy coffee like I used to drink in diners long ago, just plain prison coffee. And I feel calm. I notice things now. The sound of birds outside the yard, the warmth of sunlight, a genuine laugh with another inmate, helping a younger man learn to read. These moments would have seemed small to my younger self. Now they feel enormous. I still remember luxury, soft beds, good food, freedom to travel, the touch of someone you love. Those memories are bittersweet, but they don't hurt the way they used to. They're part of me, not something stolen from me. Because I discovered something important. Freedom is not only physical. There are people outside prison who live trapped by fear, expectations, regrets, or the opinions of others. And there are people inside prison who find mental freedom through acceptance, growth, and connection. The biggest prison most humans live in is not made of concrete. It's made of fear. Fear of change, fear of judgment, fear of failure. I lost my external freedom 50 years ago, but I found perspective. I found patience. I found gratitude for moments I once ignored. And strangely, I found myself. If I could speak to the young man I used to be, I wouldn't just warn him about the mistake that brought me here. I would tell him something else. I would say, don't wait for everything to be perfect to appreciate your life. Notice it now. Love people now. Forgive yourself sooner, because time passes faster than you think. So here's what I want you to take from my story. Life doesn't end when you lose something. Not freedom, not youth, not love, not opportunity. It just becomes different. And sometimes, different leads you somewhere deeper than you ever expected. Some of the most meaningful parts of my life began after everything I thought I needed was gone. If you feel trapped right now, by circumstances, mistakes, grief, or fear, please hear me. Your story is not over. Not even close. Thank you for listening.